Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for March 17th, 2025. Well, today is the day, everyone. I don't know if you have the time or are interested. I'm going to leave a link for you in the description of the video. Just go below the title of the video. We're going to have our open house today, and we'd love to have you participate and come on in a full day of trading and conversation about stocks. You can ask me anything. That will be happening today. I'll leave a link just below the title of the video. So you guys, if you have some time today, I'd love to see you there. I usually get started right just before the market open. We do have a 2-hour complete session where from 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Every single day I do a 2-hour session, and then I have cleared my schedule, so I will be around a lot of the afternoon as well to answer your questions, try to help you with your trading. So if you have some time, I'd love to see you there. Who knows, maybe we might even find some good trades today. Y'all take care, and hope to see you just a little bit later today. So enough of the commercial. Let's get into today's report. Let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, Asian markets pretty good overnight. They had Shanghai or mainland China had an increase in retail sales. And that really seemed to spark some bullishness over there. And we've got Asian markets up across the board. We had Australia up 0.84%. Nikkei was up 0.93%. India was higher by about 0.5%. South Korea was up. Hong Kong higher by 0.77%. And Shanghai up just modestly 0.19%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they're also bullish across the board, but rather modestly here today as they move forward with their reorganization of debt to increase their defense spending. And this morning they're looking positive, the DAX being up 0.28%, the FTSE's up 0.22%, and the CAC is up 0.33%. Now, unfortunately, we're not getting that bullishness this morning in U.S. futures. We have U.S. futures are lower here this morning. The Dow futures at the moment down here today. We've got, let's see, they've been improving as the morning goes on. Right now, Dow futures down 120 points. We've got the S&P 500 futures down $12.50, and the NASDAQ futures down $27 here this morning. So just a little bit lower in those futures this morning, but they have been improving here since I've been up this morning. Let's take a look at what's going on in bonds this morning. We've got bonds lower this morning, moving down. So our 10-year bond, our 10-year bond is at 4.28%. Our 30-year bond is at 4.59%, and the 2-year bond is at 4.01%, a little bit higher on those twos here this morning. If we take a look at cryptos here this morning, well, our cryptos are moving up just slightly after quite a bit of volatility last week. But right now we've got Bitcoin up $273 a coin, or 0.33%. And Ether is up $33.94 or 1.81% this morning on those cryptos. If we take a look at oil here this morning, let's take a look at our producers here, XLE. They had a really nice pop here in XLE on Friday, pushing up, putting in that little higher low in here on this chart. We're going to come back and revisit that in just a little bit. but we'll want to be keeping an eye on that. Right now, we've got oil up this morning, oil futures coming in up 87 cents a barrel at 68.05 a barrel. And if we take a look at Brent crude, Brent is also up. We're coming in at 71.32 a barrel here this morning, up 1.05%. Natural gas is also moving higher here this morning. We've got natural gas pushing up 0.07%, or excuse me, 7 cents, 1.78% on that natural gas, pushing higher here this morning. So a little bit of bullishness there. If we take a look at our precious metals here this morning, our gold moving back up here today. We've got gold at the moment up $4.70 an ounce at $3,005 an ounce in GLD. If we take a look at silver, silver is a little tiny bit lower here this morning. Right now, silver futures down 9 cents at 34 an ounce. If we take a look at copper, well, we've got copper moving up here this morning, and we've got maybe some interesting patterns here we're going to have to start paying attention to on copper. Platinum is higher this morning by 0.42%, or $4.30 an ounce, $4.30 an ounce, and palladium is up 0.63%, or $6.10 an ounce on palladium. So trying to move up here a little bit as well. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope everyone had a great weekend, had some good rest. I think we've got a little kind of a wild week ahead of us here with not so much on the earnings front, a lot of economic data coming our way, including an FOMC decision. So a little bit of volatility is probably expected, and it wouldn't be out of the ordinary from what we've seen here lately. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember that we want to shake off that bias, and we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. If we take a look here at the diamonds, obviously we are in a downtrend, and we've been in a downtrend for some time. We did get a good hold of support here on Friday. Nice little relief rally started. That bearishness this morning maybe taking a little bit of that back. But if those bulls can follow on through here, let's see if we can push up into this area, breaking that really sharp downtrend in here, and see if we can push up into this next level of price resistance. I'd be watching carefully up there for that potential. Clearly, they made a decision on Friday to keep the government open. That relieves some of the pressure here in the market, but then we ended up starting airstrikes in Yemen due to the maritime attacks and all the pirating going on in that area. So now we've got another issue, conflict. The president is trying to put a lot of pressure on Iran. We'll see how that goes, but more uncertainty in this market to be worked on. If we take a look at the bearish side of the market, if the bears have anything to say, well, pushing back down here to this area of price support certainly does seem like a possibility. Where we would get probably pretty concerned is if we were to break back down below that little support area coming into that Thursday low. That would be worrisome, and if we were to drop into that area, well, then I think we've probably got support right down in here that we'll want to be watching pretty closely. Remember, we are well below our 200-day moving average, so at a minimum, a relief rally I would like to see whether I get what I like or not, would be up toward that 200-day moving average. So watch carefully up there. And please keep in mind, everyone, so far, that's all this is. Don't get into this thought process we're going to zoom back to the upside, because there just doesn't seem to be the policy things going on right now to give the market that confidence. So be really careful here. If we take a look at our SPY, same situation here in the SPY. Nice push up there on Friday. Really nice stretch coming up in here, testing that resistance. We're gapping a little bit lower here this morning. So if the bulls can follow through, let's see if they can push through the high on Friday and see if we can break through that little area of resistance in the chart. Let me pull this chart back. You can see that area right in here that we need to break on through. If we can pop through that area, well, I'm going to suggest maybe coming right up into here, and if I draw that line across, that would be this resistance area right here in the chart that we want to watch for that next level above. If we happen to have any bearish activity, well, you can see here maybe a pullback in maybe to about the center of that candle on Friday. Pull back into here, we might catch a little bit of support. If we break down below there, I think that would be a little bit of a worry, and we might push on down and retest these lows here in the chart. So fingers crossed those bulls can stay here with a little strength. Now pushing back up once again, if we can get a good relief rally here in the market, I'm going to be looking up here around the 200-day moving average. But just keeping in mind the economic data, our political data, things like that could have a lot to say here, and we should expect some pretty substantial price moves and whipsaws as we try to resolve some of these issues. Let's take a look at our QQQ. Our QQQ, also nice move on Friday, nice relief, pushing back up here into this area of resistance. Couldn't quite break out of there. We lost a little momentum right at the end of the day, but a nice little relief starting. If those bulls can continue to push, notice we need to break through this area here, and there's quite a little bit of congestion in price right through this area. If we can, however, push back up, we might be able to break through that big black candle right here, pushing back up into that area of resistance, and then seeing whether we can progress on higher up into here. If the bears have anything to say, well, a push back down in here might catch a little bit of support right in here, and then of course the low on Friday if we were to push down. If we break below there, well, I think there'd be some real serious concern if we started pushing back down into these lows. And below that, you know, we've got a pretty substantial move that could happen to the downside. Once again, if we take a look at those moving averages here, a relief rally back up to the 200-day moving average would be a nice little relief. Let's see if we can get enough energy to do that with all the current uncertainty that we see in the market. IWM, nice relief rally on Friday, pushing back up to this resistance here in the chart. Now we're going to have to watch this one pretty closely. If those bulls can continue to push through, you can see there's this next level right up here that we could stretch up, maybe test up into here. Beyond that point, we may be starting to push up here toward this red line, and that red line, I've got that marked. That goes all the way back here to this 2021-2022 lows of that consolidation up here. So stretching up into there would be a major win for IWM. The question is, will they have enough energy to get back through there? And if the bears have anything to say and we push back, I'm going to be looking at a little bit of price support right in here and see if that holds us from pushing on lower. But if it does, I would look for a retest of those lows of last Thursday. So watch carefully. Beyond that point, it gets pretty ugly here in IWM. Now, taking a look, we're holding the 500-day moving average in here. We've got a long ways to go back up here toward that 200-day or moving average, and you'll notice that the 50 this week is going to cross down through the 200 in a death cross, so watch that carefully. And if we can rally back here again, I'm going to be looking at this area. That's going to be a critical area of test in the market for that rally back to the top side. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX here this morning. Our VIX had a nice pullback on Friday, relieving quite a little bit of pressure. You can see we broke back down below this area of price support, and we gave up this upside trend. So now if we can continue to see that bullish activity pushing this back down, let's start looking at some of these areas right in here for a little bit of price support in the charts, maybe somewhere between those two areas. See if we can catch a little bit of price support. If those bulls can push right on through there, however, that would make for that relief rally to be a whole lot easier if we can relieve some of that uncertainty and pressure here in the market. However, if those bears have anything to say and we were to bounce up off of any of these levels in here, pushing back up to test this area of resistance or even pushing back up to test that downtrend, notice we've got a little area of price resistance right in there that could be tested to the upside again. So watch that closely if those bears have anything to say here today. If we take a look at our T21-22, the 4-week new high, new low ratio here had a good stretch on Friday. Nice push. We ended up closing right there at the 50% area. And we struggled here for a while moving up through that downtrend, but then we finally got that push to stretch up through there, up here to the 50% area of the chart. If those bulls have anything to say here today, well, you'll know we notice that we've got plenty of upside yet if those bulls can keep pushing. However, if the bears were to fight back in here, I want you to notice we've got an equal opportunity for them to push back here. So this is going to be a pretty critical test for those bulls. Can they push on through? Can they ignore some of these issues that we're seeing in the market and concerns, worries about a slowing economy? So watch that carefully. Then let's take a look at our T21-08. The percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average had a nice little relief bounce yesterday or on Friday. We didn't really change anything all that much. The downtrend is still in place here, but the good news is we held on to some support and we may be pushing back up here to retest some resistance in the chart. So if those bulls can have some follow through here, keep an eye on some of these resistance levels in the chart, maybe up here toward 25 or pushing even harder up here toward 30% of the stocks above their 40-day moving average. Now, it's pretty tough to make a really good bullish statement in here that, hey, the market is going to turn bullish here with only 22.5% of the stocks above their 40-day moving average. However, it is an oversold condition. So if we can get that bullish relief back to the upside, we can relieve some of that selling pressure, maybe chase out some of those bears here temporarily. So watch that carefully. If the bulls have anything to say in T21-07, we need to see them get a little bit more aggressive. You can see on Friday we did push up in here. We did hold support down in this area at T21-07. Unfortunately, less than 30% of the stocks holding above their 200-day moving average. If we can continue that bullish activity in here, I would look for some resistance right up in this area. If we can push through that, then I think we're going to come up here to around 35%, somewhere in that area of the chart. So watch that carefully if those bulls can get going there. Of course, if the bears come back in, and I didn't mention that in T21-08, we can still go lower, and if I pull this back, you can see we can actually go a lot lower. So watch that carefully, and I would be prepared for whipsaws. And one of the reasons I say that is T21-01. When we had that big bullish move on Friday, look at what happened to the breadth. For some reason, we're really struggling with the buying breadth in the market. We do pretty well when the bears are in charge right now, but right now we've not been able to really inspire those bulls to bring on some heavy breadth into the market. We kind of went flat here on Friday as we rallied in that big way, which kind of tells me we did just enough to get a little bit of a short squeeze going, forcing out short traders. We had some profit taking on the short side, but not really a big move in that buyback. So watch that carefully here today. That could be critical as well. Let's take a peek at our index charts here and see if, well, first off, we've kind of covered that subject here. I'm a little tongue-tied this morning, I guess. Let's take a look at our our economic calendar here this morning, because we have some data here that definitely could be market moving today. And with this little bit of bearishness that we've got going this morning, this could be a really critical report as to whether or not we're going to be able to get those bulls inspired or continue to crank up those bears. So first off, we're going to start with our retail sales number here. This is obviously a market moving number. The prior was a negative 0.9 here on that month over month. They're looking for a 0.7, so an increase here on that. That would kind of fly in the face of this whole idea of stagflation or even a weakening consumer. Watch that carefully. I think this could be a very emotional number here today and could move the market. I'd watch for whipsaws around this number as well. We've got X vehicles month over month looking for an increase from a negative 0.4 to a 0.4, and X vehicles and gas a negative 0.5 to a positive 0.5. So interesting numbers here in that consensus. Watch that closely today. Then we're going to get the Empire State manufacturing number. Empire State, they're looking for that to move back down from 5.7 to a 0.2 here in the Empire State. So well, manufacturing continues to be a concern for us here in the United States. We've got business inventories. Business inventories will be coming in. They're looking for that to come in at a 0.3 from a negative 0.2. So we'll want to watch that carefully. Manufacturing inventories, they didn't give us a consensus here. So watch that one today. We don't normally like to see those inventories increasing here. It usually means that the consumers are not buying. So watch that close. And then we've got the housing market index. They're looking for that to stay flat at 42 here today. You'll want to keep in mind we've got a couple of bond auctions in here, a 3 and a 6 month bond auction. As we move into Wednesday, we've got the beginning of the FOMC meeting. We've got housing starts and permits, import-export prices, industrial production numbers. We're going to get mortgage applications, Atlanta business inflation expectations on Wednesday. Petroleum status as normal in here, bond auction, but then the big guy of the day, Jerome Powell, will be out with his FOMC announcement, and we've got the Fed's press conference after that. So expect some uncertainty and volatility up through Wednesday here. On Thursday, our normal jobless claims, Philly Fed, current account, existing home sales, leading indicators, natural gas report, and some bond auctions, of course, and Treasury buyback going on here with the Fed balance sheet. And into Friday, we really get light here with just a Fed speaker, Baker Hughes rig count, but you will want to keep in mind we've got a quadruple witch happening here at the end of Friday, so watch that carefully. We could see some volatility as all these options move around and shift here in the market. Let's take a peek at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, it's pretty light. There's not a whole lot going on there on that earnings calendar. If we take a look here, our notables for today, you can take a screenshot of that and just pause the video. but not a whole lot going on here on the earnings to provide lots of inspiration. We do have more coming later this week that might provide a bit more inspiration, but SAIC here this morning is trying to go a little bit higher, a little higher low in there. Might be worth keeping an eye on that. You can see in here, this is producing that rounded bottom breakout here on that chart. And TXT also going a little bit south here this morning. We popped up here nice on Friday, but we're not getting that follow through here this morning. I'm not sure if this is actually reported yet, but keep an eye on that. So those are notables, and they're really not that notable. If we take a look this afternoon, we've got GETY that will be reporting, and LPRO that will be reporting. Again, not particularly notable overall in those numbers today. So how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, click that subscribe button on YouTube, click the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, or leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. And I don't know if I'll be able to answer a lot of those today because of the open house, but I will do my best to get back on task with that after the craziness we've had in our lives here lately. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very careful in this market. And remember, volatility is likely. High implied volatility is likely. So watch for those whipsaws and watch for those big potential movers out there in the market. Going to bring up SMCI. SMCI is going to report earnings here. It is coming up on an earnings report, so keep an eye on this. Watch this carefully. Nice little upside opportunity going on in here. This number up here is not correct. I believe this is not correct. As a matter of fact, I think it is Thursday this week, this report. So watch carefully here on SMCI. It's trying to hold up and move to the upside here in the market. Watch that closely. Take a look at what's going on in some of the steel companies. Steel starting to come up here. It's not quite ready for prime time here in CLF, but a nice little first wave up here, push up. So now give me a little rest or a consolidation in here. Might look for an opportunity there in some of these steel stocks. US Steel in here had a nice little move the last few days too, starting to push back up, and that's going to be really important to be paying attention to as we are seeing the dollar showing weakness here. So anytime we have the dollar showing weakness, look to some of those commodities, even things like copper. If we take a look at that COPX that we looked at earlier, one of the things that I'm always paying attention to in a chart is when we place a higher low and we break out of some kind of a long downtrend here in the chart. So we've got not only a downtrend break of this longer term, but we've got a downtrend break of this shorter term with that higher low. So now any rest, consolidation, or pullback that holds support in here, I'd be looking for that next opportunity in COPX to the upside. If we take a look at FCX, a copper miner in here, getting that nice little push. You can see this little W formation in here, double bottom, breaking through some resistance in here. If this can hold, rest, pull back in here, might be an opportunity coming in here, reversing. This is in the rounded bottom breakout pattern. It's one of the favorite long patterns that we trade. We can talk about that today in the open house if you guys are interested, but watch that carefully here. Freeport starting to come around. I was taking a look at Alcoa thinking Alcoa may be starting to come around a little bit, but it's just not quite there. You can see we're pushing up. We do have this little W bottom formation in here. Starting to, if it can push through that downtrend here, pick up a little bit more, then I might have a bit more interest in it. You can see we're still below our 50-day moving average, so not too excited about that, but might be worth keeping an eye on. Now, let's take a look at PHYS. PHYS is physical gold. And I got to tell you guys, this is quite the move here in gold. We're breaking through these resistance levels. We're continuing to show that push to the upside. Be careful with chasing this here, but if this were to rest back, consolidate, hold into that trend, hold above this support area, I'd look for that next opportunity in PHYS. Gold continues to look pretty good, and as the dollar falls, I would expect that to continue higher. And PSLV, if you want to own some physical silver, take a look here. This nice push through this resistance here in the chart. We're holding this upside trend. There's that higher low. We are going to be coming up here and testing this resistance in the chart, I think. But any rest, consolidation, or pullback in here, I think might set up that next opportunity in silver. Keep a close eye on that, particularly if we continue to see the weakness here in the dollar. Take a look at emerging market ETF, EEM, moving up here, making those little higher lows, trying to break out of this little downtrend here. Any rest in here, any pullback in here might set up an opportunity to the upside. Keep a close eye on Altria. Now, I'm biased on this because I hold Altria. I've got a whopper of a profit in this, and this continues to look very, very bullish and may push right on through here to the upside. So watch that closely here. Altria continuing to look good. Take a look at AT&T. AT&T is still trying to come back up here in that chart. This needs a little bit more to the upside here on that daily, but if you look at this on a weekly chart, boy, this resting pullback here on this weekly, nothing wrong with this chart at all. If you like the longer term, I would just be watching and waiting for that next potential push on through here on that. You might want to take a look at TMUS, T-Mobile, also showing that same kind of pattern here. But if you look at that longer term chart, my goodness, that is a beautiful little potential setup here for a longer term play. Good strong dividend payer in here to the upside, so watch that carefully. And the reason these dividend payers are so important is when we get uncertain like this in the market, we see traders seek out that safety here in the, and there is some safety in those big strong dividend payers of the market. Take a look at CNI. CNI is trying to come up. Canadian Railway trying to move up here just a little bit. It's not ready for prime time yet, but it will. As you guys can probably see, in a bullish bounce back, I like to look for stocks that are coming up out of bottoms that have that strength. This isn't quite here yet, but may come around here soon. Worth keeping an eye on. Take a look at CHPT. CHPT, there's that little higher low starting to happen in here, trying to sneak out from under this downtrend. Watch that carefully here, CHPT. XLU making a nice little push here on Friday and a little bit of a higher low. Again, more defensive, dividend paying. These are going to be very sensitive to interest rates. If those interest rates, or we see those bonds continuing to pull back, the dollar pull back, I would expect to see XLU move higher. And we're seeing some of those stocks like Southern Company have been looking pretty good for some time here, moving to the upside. NEE making those moves here to the upside and setting up a very bullish pattern here at the moment for another stretch to the upside. So there's a few things for you to pay attention to, a few things for you to take a look at. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Sorry I ran this video a little bit long. Hope to see you today in the There we go. Hope to see you today in the open house. Love to have some direct conversation with you where you can ask me questions and we'll do some education, some trading if trades are available. And I hope to see you there. Y'all take care. Be safe. Wish you an awesome day.